Yes, we have Chris.
We're gonna start about 5 minutes late because Councilman Rock unfortunately is delayed getting here. And he's one of the members of the committee. So when he gets here, we'll start the meeting.
At your shoes, and my daughter said there's a new Samba now. It's not called Samba, it's called Gazelle.
Oh,
And she just got a pair.
Those are not new, they're from the eighties.
Okay, but they're new to her. Because apparently my Sambas are not in anymore.
Gazelles are usually like suede.
They are.
There's also.
Their purrs are velvet.
Yeah, I have a pair of gazelles, blue. And there's the Spezials, the handball.
Yeah. It's funny they came back in style.
okay. Chris is. I may be out of.
See you.
Oh,
Because income's up. I don't think I said income was down. I
You didn't say
said
income.
poll passes are down.
no, yeah, you said, you didn't say.
Income's up.
Hey, hi, Win.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
Yeah.
Pool pass revenue is up.
Yeah.
Overall revenue is
What I have,
up.
Chris, what I have in there is the number of pool passes are down. And I don't think I said the revenue was down, but you would pick it up. I'll note that revenue is up even though pool passes are down. Because we raised the price of the pool pass. It went away.
I would ask that you consider. It says it was noted passes and revenue. We're down.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we shouldn't be
I'll
talking
get it
about this.
corrected.
Yes,
I'll get it corrected.
yeah, best to wait.
Thank you.
We're not in a public meeting yet.
We should get. The mayor is, didn't get fans at council meetings and meetings that Wiley. Unfortunately, this room is always hot. Except during the winter when it's
Freezing.
it's freezing. So we haven't been blessed with what we need. Yeah, we do have water over there as well. Like 3 or 4 more said they were gonna be here. Maybe we can get the meeting done quickly. That would be nice. I mean, Brian brought Rec in an hour and a half. Actually, an hour and 36 minutes.
There's a lot
but
of things.
I wasn't counting. Councilman Rock, oh, wonderful, you're here.
Much for Tanya.
No, I'm trying to get gas. I usually get on my lunch break.
No,
in the car and it's
no,
dinging.
he is. Sometimes he's in Wadsworth or Streetsboro.
I'm in Streetsboro.
You're in Streetsboro?
Yeah.
He got a new job. It's all downhill from there. Now he's with the big people, you know. Okay. You revved up and ready?
Good.
Oh, wonderful. I'm going to call the meeting of the Building and Housing Committee to order. This is August 20th, 2025. This is actually an extra meeting that was called to discuss specifically exterior inspections. Present are Councilman Brian King, our alternate, Vice Mayor Weiss. I'm Winifred Weiser, the chair. Our law director, Brad Bryan, Councilman John Rock, our other member, and our housing director, housing and community development director, Markel Davis. We do have 3 people out in the audience, and I imagine they may give us some good thoughts to work on. Via Teams is our other committee member, Councilman Chris Cooney, and he will be able to talk to us, but just can't vote, unfortunately, because he's offline or not present. Before we start the meeting, I would like to just make some comments. Section 1474.12 of our ordinances covers exterior inspections, and it gives the city the right to do them. This is not new. It's been in existence for over 35 years. Exterior inspections have been disliked since they were instituted in University Heights, as well as in other inner ring communities, but we do them in order to maintain our housing stock. Our cities have some of the oldest housing stock, and it can deteriorate quickly if it is not maintained. The purpose of exterior inspections is not to penalize residents, but rather to help ensure that our housing stock remains as good as possible. Applied appropriately, this results in increased property value benefits, not only for the property owner, but for neighboring properties as well. A large number of the complaints that I and the rest of council receive about housing cover deterioration with a concern for how the property looks and how that impacts the value of the resident's home that is actually complaining. In some cases, doing exterior inspection has allowed the housing department to identify vacant homes and allowed the city to be more proactive in helping to address issues that relate to them: foreclosure, out-of-state landlords, and probate issues. The city strives to limit exterior inspections to a 5-year cycle to prevent over-inspection and to limit the irritation that residents might feel. In 2023, I became aware of an Ohio court ruling that resulted in limitations being placed on how exterior inspections could be done. The then law director met with the administration and then the then housing director and reviewed these limitations, designing a new process that fulfilled the requirements of the law. We now can only do inspections from the sidewalk visually or with the use of a camera with a zoom lens. Alternatively, the inspector can come to the front door, knock, and ask the homeowner if they are allowed on the property to inspect the total property area. With permission, they can. The inspection letter was corrected to reflect this new process. This brings us to this year's exterior inspection process. It started out a little rocky, and it appears that the inspector is not knocking to ask to gain access, which has limited the ability to inspect more than just the immediate sidewalk and visible part of the driveway. This has led to more citations around those specific areas, which has generated substantial comments and questions to council members. This meeting is to begin to discuss if, with the current limitations, exterior inspection can do what it was created to do, or what changes we would need to make in the program to help it achieve its goals. I am hoping that Ms. Davis, the director, can give us guidance regarding what challenges the department is experiencing in attempting to complete this year's exterior inspections due to the limitations that now exist. This information will help us begin our discussions. I'm also sure that Mr. Bryan, our law director, can also give us good advice if there are ways to improve the exterior inspection process. I'm also aware that a number of residents who are in here encountered various issues with this year's citations, mostly related to sidewalks. We will allocate some time for comments from them at the end of the discussion. While I have found our residents to be some of the most respectful people in the city when they present issues and problems, I would ask you focus on the citation and the problem and not the inspector who issued it. Tell us why you feel the citation's a problem or what you think generally about the exterior inspection process. Focusing on those points is what we need to hear for our consideration. So first, I'd like to start out to ask Ms. Davis to give us a sense of what challenges her department faced with this year's inspections and your feelings about exterior inspections in general. And I'll give you the floor, Ms. Davis.
The majority of.
I would ask, move your,
Oh.
yeah, unfortunately, so we get this on Teams.
The majority of the calls and complaints that we have received is related to the trees,
Trees?
which is causing the problem with the sidewalks. Residents are complaining about the process, meaning contractor comes out to lift it's lifting the sidewalk blocks. That's the main issue. Because they're in good condition. So a lot of residents don't want new blocks to be put down if the old ones are in good condition.
Okay.
However, it's contacting a contractor, having the sidewalk block lifted, then contacting service to have the arborist go out to grind the roots, then calling the contractor back to put the slab back down. That's the biggest concern. In addition to, which I learned differently, some residents was saying that they couldn't opt out. The one individual specifically who I spoke to, I believe it was because they were actually there at that moment planting the tree. And at that point, I'm assuming it was too late.
Wait a minute, they were. Back that one up. The resident asked to opt out of,
Having a tree.
A new tree.
Yes,
oh, of having a tree on the tree lawn.
be planted, yes,
And it was when they were planting the tree.
that's correct.
Okay, that's because they didn't know the tree was coming, probably. Okay, thank you. I
Can I
just wanted,
interject one quick thing about that?
Sure.
Ms. Weiser. So it's interesting. It was probably right before you came. We asked that every resident be notified if a tree is going to be planted on their tree lawn so they can opt out if they wanted to.
Okay.
So
but I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Markel. You're not notified, you're not in charge of the list for the trees.
no service
No,
department.
That's the service department, so that actually is a service and utilities issue. Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
That's not your, you have enough. Okay, go ahead. Is that the only thing?
Yes.
With the limitation of not being able to go on the property, is the inspector going to the front door to knock to ask to do the entire property?
So when we had a conversation in regards to going on the property, he stated that some of the addresses you can't see from the sidewalk. So he would have to go up to the door. Specifically, I know that there was an address that I was looking for and it was next to the door, but it was deteriorating. So you
Okay.
couldn't actually see the numbers of the address. So he's stated that he's going up to the door to actually see the address.
But he's not knocking on the door
Not in all cases, no.
and he's not asking to inspect the total property.
No,
So basically, he's doing the inspections from the sidewalk.
yes.
And is he using a Zoom camera or just an eye?
Just an eye.
Okay, so do you think that has resulted in primarily what appears to be, and it might not be, the citations that come in, an extreme amount of citations that dealt with cracks in sidewalks and in areas of the driveway that were visible?
I'm going to say no. In some of the data that we have compiled, there were about 645 inspections, and of that, um, not even half were for violations related to sidewalks and or the driveway.
How many?
Not even half. Releveling blocks was as low as 88, replacing 86, repairing 46. So the numbers are low in comparison to the number of properties that were actually inspected.
Except I've had people send me copies of citations about cracks.
Yes.
Okay, so these are due to cracks or raised sidewalks.
I'm not sure.
Seems a high. It seems a high number, almost half.
40%. So 40% of 645 inspections generated citations that focused on sidewalks alone
Sidewalks and or driveways.
or driveways or part of the driveways. Obviously, you can't see the back. If that is the case, and what Mr. Bryan said, that seems high. One of the things that, so what are we missing that we've normally cited? Do you know? I know that you're the new director and you probably were not handling citations in the past. Or had limited exposure to them. So I don't know if you can answer this. If you can't, it's okay. I know previously citations tended to be tuck pointing, painting, chip paint. There were some citations that would show up for debris in the back or broken garage doors, things like that. When the entire property was inspected. Councilman Rock, you're sitting there shaking your head, so
Landscaping.
landscape.
Overgrown.
Yeah, so there was a much broader range of things that were being cited.
Are you saying in the past that only, so I would say that for any type of inspection, it's the same field sheets used
Mhm.
for all of the inspectors, no matter what type of inspection it is.
Yeah, right.
So it's still the same thing.
Yeah. But if the inspector cannot see chip paint, he can't cite for it. Am I correct?
If it's in the front,
He can cite for it.
yes.
Okay. But if it's in the back and the front's painted, he can't.
Correct.
So previous to this ruling, where the city would actually inspect the full property, more items were discovered. And if we're not asking permission to do the full thing, we have limited ourselves to really just looking at the sidewalk, the front of the house, and the few sidewalk or the section of the driveway that's visible. And I don't know if you can answer this, and I'm going to ask the question, but Markel, please feel free to say, can't answer that one, okay? You've been director just such a short amount of time. And you've had complaints come in, and when inspections are complaint driven, when the housing department receives a complaint about a property, the inspector can go on the property without permission to investigate the complaint.
That is my understanding.
And Mr. Bryan, I believe that is legal. Am I correct?
If there's a complaint.
Yes.
And the inspector should still have some sort of verification that there's an issue and ask, and if they refuse, we could get a search warrant.
So they,
Search warrant,
but with the complaint, they can
Yeah.
go on the
We
property,
have
knock on
more,
the,
right, we have more
They-
probable cause.
more probable cause to look. Okay,
But it's not a completely yes or no answer that we don't have carte blanche just because somebody. But it's more likely a situation then the neighbor complains, the inspector can go on the neighbor's property.
And
they
look
would
over
invite 'em
the-
there,
if it's
look
in
at
the back.
Backyard, and then once they see evidence of whatever this complaint is, then they have reason to.
okay.
Go on
So-
the property, if they're kicked off, we'll go get a search warrant.
But with exteriors, we cannot do that because we
Right.
have no
In general,
complaint to
right.
generate it. Okay, that's the difference.
And I guess the question I would ask is if, we're starting to figure out with these new letters, how many people actually give permission to do a full inspection that are asked? And then, those people are obviously more likely to not have violations than people who would have violations. So would be kind of interesting to see how
If-
productive these are.
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm hearing from residents a lot is outside of the usual, oh no, you're doing exterior inspections and I have to replace a concrete sidewalk block and it's very expensive. Or I have to get it leveled and it's $1,200. Outside of that, I'm also hearing sort of, well, my house looks really good. Why are you citing me? Why are you citing me on this small crack? And one of them that I went and actually looked, and then I think the resident did call the office and scheduled to have the inspector come back out. They, I think, had filled the crack and he had approved it. So some of this is being resolved that way quietly, but I don't know if all residents know they can do that. I've had some residents call me and they're fearful of doing it, which is the other issue. But getting back to the problem at hand, if we're not gonna knock and ask for permission to get onto the property, is this a program that we want to spend? I mean, it basically takes one inspector a half of the year to cover that area. Am I right?
Not even, we actually, divided out the inspections to 12 a day.
2 inspectors,
One inspector, 12 a day.
1 inspector, 12 houses a day.
Yes. So it started maybe mid-May, and there's a few that he's finishing up now.
Okay. And you said there were 645 inspections.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. King,
Thank you, Ms. Weiser. So first, I have a quick comment on how you might be able to limit the number of times you're going up to a door in case of address. In my walkings about the city, looking for houses, street numbers, I typically have Google Maps open on my phone all the time, and I pull up Street View and identify the houses that way. I know you can't see the address always from the street, but if I type the address into Google Maps, Apple Maps, whatever mapping software you're using, and then you have the street view, you can see where that house is. So just a suggestion there to save some steps onto the property when they otherwise wouldn't be needed. The next question I have is, do we keep a record of photographs of the violations, of the cracks in the sidewalks and the driveway? Do we have a record, a visual record of these violations?
No.
I know that.
I feel like we should start to do that. I'd like to hear from other people on the committee on that.
Vice Mayor?
I think Mr. Rock actually had his hand up first. You're fine.
Okay.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, I missed you.
Oh, that's all right. Of the 645 inspection, how many of those received some type of citation?
In reverse,
Okay.
294 homes had no violations
Had
at
no,
all.
okay, so less than half
Yeah.
had nothing wrong.
Yes.
Okay. And then as we were talking about how this varied in previous years where they were looking at the whole house, what percent, and you probably don't have that information now, and you can get back to me if that's okay, but what was that percentage in prior years? Are there less citations now because of the change of the program, or is it consistent in prior years?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you could get back to me on that. On the letter, it states that they can call for a reinspection. What does that mean? Are they supposed to call for a reinspection when they complete the work, or are they calling for a reinspection because they disagree with the citation? That's the part that's unclear.
So a reinspection is for completed violations.
Okay,
An advisory is if they're unclear. And
An
the
advisory.
schedule actually, yes,
An advisory?
yes.
You said, now, is this something we send?
Say that again.
What's an advisory?
Oh, so if you're saying my inspection says block number 6,
Uh-huh,
I'm not sure where that's at.
okay,
Can the inspector come out?
okay,
So he's
Okay.
actually meeting the individual at the property to go over the violation.
Okay.
And that's all inspectors.
yeah, I know, I've had a few where, he's come back out because there was difficulty in figuring out which block it was, and they managed to get some stuff straightened out that way.
so what it says in the letter here is to schedule a reinspection or advisory, please contact the Housing Department Administrator, Stephanie Williams, and it gives the phone number. So does that mean the resident is to schedule a reinspection when they're complete?
Yes,
Okay, so the 300 some households that have citations, as they're completed, they need to schedule for a reinspection.
yes.
And they do come out.
When the violations are closed, they're to call in to schedule for either partial or all.
Got it.
People don't know that.
I was just-
People, I'm being very serious. Ms. Davis. People don't know that because they're calling me and saying, are they gonna come back and look, we had this fixed? They're not, I know. They are not understanding that. And,
I didn't understand it.
huh?
I didn't even understand that
Well-
part, yeah.
You know,
I've gotten calls for both. So I did receive a call stating how was I supposed to know?
uh-huh,
But then on the flip side, I have people that call in and say, hey, I completed five violations. Can you guys come out to do a reinspection? This is what he literally said, this is what your letter is instructing me to do.
well, yeah, because it told them what to do for reinspection. For houses that have no violations, do you send them a letter that says your house has no violations?
So I'm actually drafting that now because in the past, it was not.
So, okay, in the past we didn't, but you're doing it now?
Yes.
Okay, that explains some of the confusion that happens because people talk to other people in different areas of the city and say, oh, I didn't get a letter. What does that mean? Now it might,
Well, let me clarify what I mean. If there was no violations found, there's a code for no violations of the exterior.
okay,
We do send that letter,
okay,
but it still could be confusing, but it does say no violations found. What I am drafting is the letter that you will receive once all your violations are closed.
okay. No, I'm not talking about the closed ones. I'm talking about the house. There are some houses out there that have not gotten anything.
Well, that could be US mail.
This would have been a long time too, but I'm being serious. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. And Ms. Davis, thank you also for all this. Just have a few comments and questions. So one, this is piggybacking off of Mr. King. I know that we have tablets for our inspectors, and I think you mentioned in the past that the
So-
particular inspector is not using them, right?
Well, so I believe when we talked about the tablets, it was the safe building inspectors that go out that actually have the tablet.
Your inspector does not have it? Oh,
No,
you have two technically, right?
3.
Okay, three.
Mhm.
Oh, because we just hired. them.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's 3, but
You
no,
do not have tablets?
no.
Now, if we purchase tablets for them, do you think I mean, can you mandate them to use it so we can have the history?
Yes, yes.
Because I know one was a little hesitant.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think that's something that you should request. I know that you have a budget for supplies.
Yes,
I think that would be worthwhile so we could get them in, get them set up with Citizen Serve and have that ready for the next round if we do that.
okay.
Um, Another question is, so I think, I just want to give a little history about the sidewalk blocks and then talk about exterior inspections in general. So a bunch of years ago, we actually got our engineer to give us an estimate of what it would cost for every sidewalk block to be replaced in University Heights. It was about $2 million. Now, probably
It's
more
how
now.
much?
$1.8 million.
Okay, thank you.
I looked at my email going back. It's probably more now. I mean, you're talking about probably, I would say it was about 6 years ago, okay? What I'm thinking, and I've said this publicly before, is the tree lawn trees are the city's trees, even though the homeowner has to tend to their tree lawn. So, and their sidewalks. So there's this, tension right there. I would like to propose to the committee and hopefully, we can have this discussion and, maybe this is obviously the first of a few meetings until we get, something, an ordinance or something like that. But either the city pays for like the 3 blocks in front of the tree that are issues, or it's some kind of partnership with the resident and the city. So the cost goes much lower and the city can go out and bid for the contractor to do the cement work because that's all, so many, I can't get a contractor, I can't get a contractor. Then they're calling you up, I need I need more time and, then it's the winter and then they can't pour it. And it's like a never ending story. And then the whole issue with the arborist on top of it, especially if it's a big tree, they're cutting the roots. Like if everything could just be organized, that the city is in charge of these sidewalk blocks, whether we pay for the whole thing or it's partial payment, 50-50 with the residents, I think that will alleviate a lot of heartache on the residents' part. That's just my opinion. I'd love us all to discuss that.
And the city of Cleveland does have a 50-50 program specifically for the sidewalks. I can't recall if it was South Euclid or Cleveland Heights where you're also saving on the back end because the contractor for the cement is
Yeah.
coming at one time versus
Exactly.
each individual house having to get a contractor.
And they don't want to come for one block.
Yes,
Like, they really don't. I personally have had that issue years ago. They don't want to come out. The other question I had is it's very preliminary, but I did a little research on exterior inspections on what other cities do. It's like a mixed bag. Like,
yes.
I feel like we need to seriously take a look at other cities' ordinances on their exterior inspections of like cities, and compare and see, is this something that we want to continue or is this something that we want to adjust, amend? I think we need to take a hard look at it, especially since we can't go into the backyards.
Couple of things. The reason I called this meeting is there are so many complaints about this year's exterior inspections. Even last year's did not generate this. And it's primarily focused around sidewalks. And it's obvious that the limitation the inspector's working under is directing his attention to the sidewalks, number one. We have been talking in this committee about sidewalks, and I've had discussions with Councilwoman Sachs, who chairs streets or service and utilities, about other programs. Westlake has a program where they do a quadrant. They quadrant the city. And they are bigger than us. And you've got to split into fives, right? Yeah,
Yes.
5 sections. So what we could do is in 1 year, if there are interns, send them out with tablets to photograph the sidewalks that are at issue with addresses, because usually the interns are college students that we are blessed with coming from John Carroll. We have some coming from Cleveland State, which has a urban studies and a planning program as well. So they're a little bit more tech savvy. And what Westlake does is then counts the blocks that have to be replaced and gets contractor bids on a number of, from my understanding, different quantities. And then the homeowner gets the option to opt in at X price. These would be the prices. And because they're blocking it together, the price of the contract of the block fix goes down and is substantially reduced. How that would look in University Heights, I don't know. I do agree, and Councilwoman Sachs and I know Councilman King and Councilman Rock, you're on these committees too. We've talked about that and we've never really, we've shied away from it because of cost, but a split of the cost might be doable. The other issue we run into is even though we have that grant program, that we haven't fixed, which is the household income where people qualify to apply for the grant. And that is so low. Probably, I think I've heard of one resident that has actually told me they were actually able to apply for the grant and get it over, 5 years? And it's because even our seniors get a little bit more in terms of their retirement and it knocks them out. And I know we've discussed potentially, Vice Mayor, taking that to 125% of what the median is, because it's more appropriate for the median of our city. And I think this is something that has to be directed towards the residents. All of that we need to do. But do we want to continue exterior inspections if our hands are tied?
If
And I
could
think-
maybe propose, I mean, if you do, would it be more efficient and you're treating everyone equally? You know, if the interns do the sidewalks and the driveway, do you just have someone inspect from the sidewalk, not bother going to the front door? You could certainly do 12 inspections a lot more quickly that way. And to see, do we see a huge problem with the roof, or is a gutter falling down? Can you see peeling paint on the front of the house?
You call
And
out
then-
the
and-
inspector
and then-
for it?
And then at a point, you follow up on that for the.
So the inspector doesn't spend their time on sidewalks.
Right,
And
and
on
you're
what
not
they can
spending
see.
time walking up to the door, asking permission, getting denied, most people getting. Having some
Well, the
people-
sidewalks get cleared out
Right,
and they're not part of the exterior process.
Right.
We pull that out of exteriors. We do that independently. And while they're doing that, if they note issues, then the inspector is basically walking and looking at the front of the house. If there are visible issues, that's what they're citing. They're not focused on sidewalks. I'm seeing you're looking like,
No,
wait a minute, I want a sidewalk.
Does the inspection absolutely have to be conducted from the sidewalk? And the reason I say that is because today we're just looking at curb appeal. In the future, the exterior, which we're finding out from other complaints that we receive, hey, this garage is collapsing. hey, the trees are in the back. Hey, the fence in the back of this house is falling. How will we capture that without it being a huge problem later?
That is exactly the reason we call the meeting, Ms. Davis, is to begin to ask that question of ourselves. Is the exterior inspection program, because of the limitations placed by the court case, actually working to do what we needed it to do?
Yeah, we can't go on the property unless we have permission. We go to the court and get a warrant, so the court will establish we have probable cause. Or, you know, the inspector independently verifies beyond what just the neighbor is telling them. They've got to go out and say, yes, I understand what the neighbor's talking about. This is a violation, and I can go on and inspect it. And if the person doesn't give the inspector permission, says, I'm not giving you permission to get on property, get off my property, then with the court, it'll.
Mr. Bryan, the next question I have is, one of the reasons that residents call us, and then you get loving emails from us. I know, I realize you probably, every time you see an email come from me, you go, oh no, she's at it again. A lot of that is they do not want to be exposed. In other words, meaning identified. If a resident physically gives, and if they contact me, as far as I'm concerned, I made the complaint, not them, in order to protect that resident. But if we were to end up moving off of exterior inspections and handle sidewalks separately as a whole separate thing, and move to a complaint-driven process, which actually might turn up those vacant houses quicker. Is there a way to allow for anonymity for the person that reports it?
We have a record of the person who reported it. That's a public record. If we have some sort of system where you can anonymously report, which I believe some communities have an online
I believe we
reporting
do it.
system, Cleveland Heights does.
We do as well.
Okay, you can
That would be good.
electronically report an issue. You don't have to give your name, or you can if you want. But if you don't want to, you're not required to.
Yeah, because sometimes the complaints do come in and the fields are just filled out with just X's. So it doesn't have to, they don't have to, but the problem would be if you're saying, hey, my neighbor, for example, like this week, that we would have to know where to go. Especially if they don't give us, the address, because sometimes they come in and they'll say the house next to me has this issue. Well, which house?
Well, in those situations, yeah, I don't have a problem. I mean, just going to the neighbor, we don't know whether they made the complaint or not. To say, we got a complaint about this, how, do you mind if we go on your property to take a look at the neighbors? It's up to them.
Yeah, but you wouldn't know which neighbor it is.
Right, that's what I'm saying, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really
But you can
matter.
knock on the door because you
The
know
other
one of the
may be
neighbors did.
aggravated
Yeah.
Too, if it's that bad.
Yeah. Cause they have to, exterior inspections are good because they do prevent houses from falling into that gray area. We've had probate cases where houses have, somebody dies, the probate case takes forever. We had a house on my street where it took 6 years, and in the dead of night, even though both houses next to it they were quiet, they came in and they stripped the inside. And the house deteriorated to the point where it was put up for auction, and it sold for $15,000. And the woman that bought it actually has turned that house into one of the nicer houses on the street. Took her 8 years to do, and a lot of hassling from a previous, notice I stress previous, housing department. But she actually rebuilt that thing from the inside. we have to find ways to prevent that from happening. A house on Canterbury, when I was out campaigning, the neighbor said, this house has been empty. It turned out the guy died. There were seven heirs in 4 different cities. And it took almost 10 years to accumulate 1 heir because the one person kept buying people out. And when they finally got it, then they went ahead and just before we were going to turn it over to declare it a nuisance, they hired somebody to come in. It was rehab. The bones of some of our older houses are so good, they're priceless. And if we can get them rehabbed and get families in them, the city gets to grow. So it's challenging. It truly is challenging balancing that. Vice Mayor, sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you. So what the question that you posed is, do we even want to keep exterior inspection? Excuse me, do we
Yeah.
want it to keep exterior inspections and just have it kind of complaint driven? So just to play devil's advocate, I think I'm just a little nervous because we have some neighbor to neighbor disputes.
Oh, yeah.
And there could be some issues with, oh, I just want to get back at this person kind of thing. And then, I mean, I guess then you resolve it because someone will come out and say, well, there's not really a problem there. But I think that could happen sometimes. I think it would behoove us to look at kind of like cities' ordinances and their exterior
I'm not
inspections.
saying we can't do anything tonight.
Oh,
I'm
no, no,
just
no, for sure.
opening the door.
I'm just like thinking out loud with,
Okay.
you know, with this. I don't know why, but there's been a lot of neighbor complaints lately,
I
as
know.
opposed to the last bunch of years.
Capture some of these egregious things just by walking down the sidewalk by every house.
Which you can't. I mean, some of the things you can.
Right.
Something-
The backyard, you can't at all. So,
Right, you're not gonna be able to. do
like you
it.
said, you don't know
Not
if
in the
there's a
backyard.
tree that's
Councilman
gonna fall
King.
down or whatever.
Councilman King is patiently hiding in the corner or what? He's not really hiding. It's hard for me to see. Go.
Thank you, Ms. Weiser. I think there's obviously a balance that we need to strike here. I think we're always going to get complaints, no matter, whether we
Oh,
have an
yeah.
exterior inspection program or not. I do think the interior or exterior inspection program has value. But I do like the idea that we've been discussing about potentially removing the sidewalks from the scope of that. Placing that under its own program, recording, visually the cracks that are in there. That would help us calibrate, against the other piece of or blocks of sidewalk that are in that area of the city, and then have the city bid it. We need to then speak about what the cost share would be. I think in the case of the of trees heaving the blocks, the city should definitely have at least a share of that, potentially the entire, but then we need to discuss that. But bringing that all under one area, having the city do that and bid would save a lot of hassle for our residents, and it would calibrate it. We would be able to truly make sure that the blocks that we want to replace are truly in need of being replaced and consistent across the area of the city.
Okay. The other thing is if we leave exterior in place, then we need to look at and work with Ms. Markel and her department about how that portion then would work, because if they're no longer looking at sidewalks, then and I hate to say this, this is almost going to mean the inspector's going to have to go up and knock on the door and ask. Because we'll take some time away from what they currently are doing if we move sidewalks into a separate program. And that opens up time for them to knock. I don't know, out of 645 homes, how many people would say, sure, go ahead, except for one thing. If you go to a house and you knock and that person maybe has a problem in the back, they don't want anybody to see, and they say, oh no, I'm not gonna give you permission, you go to the neighbor that has suffered. And I know this hasn't happened this year. This happened under Jeff where there was an issue next door where there were rats that were being generated because of garbage in the garage. And if you hit that neighbor on the other side that's taking care of their property, they will tell you about the neighbor next door, which then becomes the complaint driven. And also can give access to the inspector to come on their property to take the pictures. So there are ways that them exterior inspection actually could become a little bit more active and more proactive for the things that I think everybody's concerned about. Vice Mayor?
I had one question for Ms. Davis. I've heard in the past that the cement contractors do not level. They're not levelers or what, I don't know what they're called. They're two different companies. Is that true or can a contractor also, because sometimes we don't need to replace the block
Mhm.
if the root is trimmed.
That's
They
what
just-
she was saying at the
Exactly.
beginning. That's
So,
what she
I mean,
was
some
talking
that are
about.
cracked, obviously we have to do that, but could they be the same company or would
I
it be
think
two
it's
bids?
possible, but
Okay,
this morning I was actually out talking to two neighbors who both received violations for sidewalk blocks. And she did say that one contractor said he's not coming out to lift, then come back to put back.
so that's something the city would have to.
I know there's a technique that some companies do. They put
Mhm.
like foam
Holes
or
in it
something
or-
underneath.
Yeah, to raise one block up,
Raise
but
it up,
then if they
but-
can. The thing I do know has happened in the past, the service department has come out to actually grind the roots, but they will not raise the block.
Correct.
So it might, if the city takes on tackling those, then we're contracting the contractor to come out and it can be scheduled with a service crew where the block is raised, the service crew does the roots, and then the block is immediately lowered. And because it's done in one trip, the cost goes down and the shared cost goes down. Because the city's not rich either, believe it or not. And that probably, I think, would at least alleviate some of the challenge.
Yeah, what I really like about this potential program is that you have the contractors, the arborist and the city
All at once.
all at one time together, organizing timelines and we don't also have to wait for a resident to fix it. It could be
Yeah.
a very long time. And then also you have the whole issue with the courts, right? If they start appealing or they, that could be over a year.
Our residents have been most patient. So now you get to weigh in. Yeah, come on. If you would come up and use the microphone and give us your name and your address, we'd appreciate it. Two things. What the issue is, what you came to talk about. But if you would also like to make some comments on what you heard us at least discuss at this point that you might not have known, we would appreciate some feedback as well. Okay?
Testing, is it on? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or if you, the other thing you could do, all these microphones at the desks are on. If you want to sit at one of the desks and speak into that microphone, that's fine.
Okay.
Whatever's most comfortable for you.
Can you all hear me though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
speak up.
yes.
All right, okay. Connie Woods, Bill Woods. Put 2577. We live at University Boulevard, Channing and University, right at the corner. Connect. All right. We received citation, first notice, July 30th, okay? And what you all been talking about is our issue. There's and we've been talking to Ms. Sachs.
Mhm.
There's a big oak tree right on the side of the house, Channing. And it's very huge. It's right on the curb, and it has lifted the sidewalk, even cracked one. And, I have pictures. Do you mind looking at the pictures of the roof
Sure.
coming?
Yeah, we can take a look if you would.
Okay, I'll-
You can start it with Miss Davis.
We've been there for 34 years. And we have had, maybe in the last few years, we had a contractor come out, A1, to sort of level it out. And they did, but each year, the tree, they push it up. And it's there, and it's right at the tree, right here. Else, and it's very visible. And so we did send a letter to the mayor, July 27, 2024, because in the past, we've been trying to get help with this. But we didn't hear any response from the mayor's office. So then we sent a letter to, I don't know if Ms. Michelle Weiss here. Hi. So we didn't hear anything from, Miss Michelle Weiss. So, and that letter was to her March 8th, 2025. So, so we were just sort of, frustrated that the tree is on this, like you said, the city, the sidewalk there on the curb. And I don't see why we have to be responsible for those thick, and you can see it in the picture, pushing the sidewalks up. They push it up and it cracks. So, and this is the contractor letter, and we just need help. We're seniors, and we just feel like we need some help from the city. We did, and the lot is real huge, and I like how, something came up that if you didn't want a tree planted, I'll say no. Now, before some, years ago, they planted, we have about, so many trees around there because the lot is large. But this one particular tree is so huge, and in the wintertime, fall, winter, it still goes from winter to about January, February, the leaves still fall. And it's just so much. This tree is beautiful. We went to Mr., what's his name, the head of service department. Why do you want to tear down that big oak tree? But the oak tree is causing a lot of problems with the sidewalk. Kids ride the bikes, and when they walk, we don't want them to trip and hurt themselves. So we just need some help from university. We said there's, the city is poor. We pay taxes, we need help.
Evening, everyone. Basically, I'm not gonna take a lot of your time, but just to reiterate what she was saying, this has been an ongoing problem. This problem started back in 2020. At that time, I went ahead and paid A1 Concrete to do the work, which cost me $1,200. Now, at that point in time, I did not know that that tree was the problem with the roots. The roots are, like I say, making the concrete come up. And I tried to get some help way before it got as bad as it's gotten, but I received no help. For me being a resident, I complain, and I've been up here and talked with several people at City Hall. I can't even remember all their names, but I've got no cooperation. But the homeowner is being penalized based on, it's not our fault, it's the tree. I requested to have the tree removed. And as she said, they said no. At this point in time, what we're faced with now is student citation, which I don't have a problem with that. You have to have the property in hand. But that tree is not my concern. I didn't plant that tree. And like this young lady said, the residents suffer based on the way that the law is written, which it maybe needs to be looked into, do something as far as the people are concerned, because we're being penalized. I have never received a citation in 34 years. This is the first citation that I've gotten. The last one I got, I didn't really get a citation. I was told what to do. I went on, had the work done, as I said, through A1 Concrete, because I wanted to keep my property up. Which is what you're supposed to be doing. But if this tree is removed, I don't care what the city does, it ain't gonna do nothing but bring the concrete right back up. You can see the roots. Roots as big as this desert. It's gonna be a problem. If they don't do anything, it's gonna be a problem. There are gonna be other residents that are gonna be up here
I,
eventually.
can I ask you a question? When you had this done in 2020, did A1, did the service department come out and grind the root? Or did anybody grind that?
Service
Okay.
department come out and do anything.
Yeah, they-
They just told me I gotta get it done. Like this young lady said, they ain't pulling up no bricks. You pay for that.
Now I can appreciate them. I've been cited for sidewalks and I know how much they cost.
But you know, it's one thing to be cited for sidewalks, but it's another thing to get the city to do their job. Their job should be to try and do something to try and help the residents. As my wife said, we pay taxes. Nobody said nothing about that. Pay your taxes. So therefore, when something like this come up, we ain't just started complaining about it. This happened back in 2020. I've been in fact, in the last year, because I seen the problem come way before the inspection. I've been up here and talked with 4, 5 people. They sick of looking at me. But you know what? I got tired of calling on the phone. Nobody got back to me. I come up here, I get to run around. That's not right.
Well, I hope you realize out of what we talked about tonight, that we recognize that the sidewalks are an issue. And council wants to do something about it. We have the ability to put or to propose programs to change the code a bit. But we also are going to need the cooperation of the administration. Council does the legislation, the administration has to implement it. And I do, on a personal level, I regret you feel like you've gotten the runaround at City Hall. I think part of the issue is sometimes people just aren't willing to say things like, well, it's the sidewalk's the homeowner's responsibility, because they feel for you. And they don't know what they can do and nothing gets done. What actually I think has happened, it's a good thing that we had a court case now that is forcing the city, the way this ran this year, it raised the amount of complaints that council got about cracks in sidewalks, sidewalk blocks being replaced, plus the issue with tree roots, where we've all heard from enough of you that we realize this is an issue that we have to find a way to handle. We all pay taxes. I know that. Trust me. I've lived here 34 years. I'll pay the taxes as well. All of us do. We have to balance the budget also on police, fire, getting roads repaired, all those things. But we also need to find out how many of these blocks we need to deal with, how much is it going to cost, and how much per year the city can put towards that. And I hear you loud and clear, because I know when they're coming for my section too. And they have in the past, because this happens on a circular thing. And I can end up having to shell from my pocket too. And I may not like it, but we all need to try to find a way to get that price down. what's happened since, I think the last time I had to replace blocks, I had 2 blocks done for $500. You can't touch 1 block for 700 these days. I had a contractor, because I know I'm gonna have to replace 1 block, although, close your ears, Miss Davis. Although they're not inspecting in my area of the city, I'm trying to be proactive. He gave me a bid of $1,500. Now, I think that's a little out of line.
That's average.
If we're up to 1,500, there's 2 things going on, Miss Davis. And I've got a question for everybody, just hang on. Because we did all these inspections, the other thing the contractor said to me, oh, we got a lot of work in University Heights, which means when these people are coming out and it's 1 block here, 1 block there, and they've got a lot of work, they're raising their price. So is there any way that we can be a little more lenient about timeframes on what has been cited this year?
Well, so I don't know if it's necessarily specifically the contractor that's raising the price unless he has to. And the reason I say that is because one contractor that I spoke with, he stated that to get concrete poured is very expensive now. So I don't know if it's because of there's an uptick in who's calling or if it's the cost, today's cost.
See, that still doesn't resolve our tree problem,
Not at all.
which is your problem. Vice Mayor, what are you thinking?
So I'm wondering, and I don't even know if this could work necessarily, but we have, you know, almost 300 people that have sidewalk issues right now. And if we update an ordinance where the city either partners or pays for the sidewalks, can we, like Ms. Weiser said, pause the time frame to get this new ordinance updated, and then we would have this year and next year's in the program together? Is
I
that
would-
something you would,
I would say yes.
okay,
But it's the residents understanding if we receive a complaint and they call in to say, hey, I was walking on this street, I almost fell. And they call back and say, why isn't this taken care of yet? Them understanding the why.
right, but we would have a plan at that point.
I'm okay
You
with
can't-
that.
Right now, we don't know what the plan is, and I need to be perfectly frank with you, Mr. and Mrs. Wood. We don't know what the plan is. We're just starting on this,
Can I make a? closing
okay?
statement? Can I make a closing?
The only problem with that, Vice Mayor, is this. The people that have paid to get stuff fixed may be a tad upset with us. But I think we're always gonna be in that trap of some has been fixed, some hasn't been fixed when we go to do something. Yeah, Councilman King and Councilman Rock, what do you think of the Vice Mayor's idea? Let's,
I think that's something important that we have to talk about. You know, when I look at the tree assessment, for instance, it's a healthy budget. We've talked about how we could allocate those funds, and I think in terms of the maintenance of the tree, specifically with the tree root causing the sidewalks to do what it's doing, I think it would be fair that we could potentially leverage those funds if that's appropriate. Additionally, the tree fund is actually set by linear feet of your frontage in our assessments. Very nominal amount that we each pay in our taxes based on the number of feet. I just looked at your house. You have quite a bit of frontage because it goes around the side there, but the rest of us have around about 50 feet. You have about 200 feet. So I feel for you there, but where I'm going with that is, you mentioned $2 million for a whole city replacement. You know, if you were to amortize that over a 30-year span, how long do sidewalks last? I would hope 30 years.
not 30
It-
years, not today.
See, I
I
know it's
live-
concrete.
Oh, I bet you that it is 30 years.
The only, yeah.
Even
the
at
only one-
25
that's good.
years, with the number of households we have, and if you can amortize that cost over a period of time
He's the money man.
where
So is she.
I don't remember quite how much the tree fund is per linear foot, but I mean, we're
It's not
talking about,
much.
Sense.
yeah, we're talking like a few bucks per year, per household, per linear foot, you know. I'm sorry, for the whole household,
Yeah.
not just per foot. It's something we really should explore, put numbers to it.
Yeah, the tree assessment is part of your property taxes. If you look, if you go online to your thing or you look at your thing, where they have the breakout, the tree assessment is truly nominal. It's what?
Literally cents.
Huh?
Cents.
It's like maybe $5, $10, that's it. I mean, it's
It's
really,
less than that, I think.
it's marginal. And we use it to plant new trees. And Councilman King is worried we won't be planting trees, but we still can plant trees. I think there's enough, and that's not a bad idea to look at that assessment and see if that can help fund a replacement program, especially for issues caused by the trees only. And then couple it with another program that actually comes out of the overall tax revenues, the total revenue package, which then would bring that down for cracked ones. We're not going to be able to touch driveways and aprons. I'm going to be bluntly honest with you, because that's going to be too expensive. But physical sidewalks, I think, to me, that makes sense. And if we can have the wonderful cooperation of our housing department and come up, I like what you said, how we would do that legally. We get to ask him, since he's the law director. Don't you love us, Brad? And if you could look into how we would do that legally, maybe come up with a way to buy us a window where we can actually put some of this into action. That would take the pressure off. Now, that also, you have a number of people who are outstanding yet, I do believe, on things. But that may mean if your assistants would be able to, that once we have a handle on time frame, that a letter then is prepared and goes out that says, because council is looking at this, in that regard, these would not become in effect until blank date. And that way, when blank date comes, then the letters come and say, hey, here's what you got to do. And or we can get the program started, and that way we can start to offer it. Mr. Wood.
Right, I'm in closing.
I'm really grateful you came. Come.
Why, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why does it take so long to get some results?
Because not enough people called enough people. And part of the issue comes in with how do complaints come in? We cannot speak for the administration side of the fence. That's controlled by the mayor. That's the mayor's area. The complaints that have come to me, as poor Miss Davis, she can tell you, oh no, not another Wiser email. I email her, I CC the law director, and I also CC the vice mayor. So I've done my part on making people very aware beyond what we used to have. When I first came on council, the vice mayor said to me, when she gave me this committee to chair, sidewalks are an issue. Can you find some programs? But it wasn't as pressing. So it's a confluence of two things. This year, because of what happened with the law and how we have to do exterior inspections, the number of citations for this type of work went up, sidewalks. So more of you complained. Because more of you complained, it got to the council. And because of that, we finally, and this has been happening all summer, and it finally got to a point where I said, this is nuts. We've got to have in this meeting, normally this committee meets before the second council meeting of each month. That's our standing committee time. This is a special meeting, and I appreciate Councilman Rock, Councilman King, and Councilman Cooney via Teams agreeing to come because we have to have a quorum to meet. And I'm very grateful the vice mayor took time out. She doesn't have to be here, but she's here as well because she thinks it's critical. So that's why suddenly this is important. It's not that it hasn't been important to us. It's just we needed the volume to be able to justify saying, okay, how do we fix this?
Okay.
Because whatever, here's the other piece of the puzzle. What we do by legislation. That becomes a part of what's considered the ordinances or the laws of University Heights. We can pass legislation, but the administration has to agree to enforce it. So we need enough of you behind us to make sure that piece happens also. And, you know, we've got an election this year. We're going to have a new mayor next year. We may find somebody who's more cooperative. If that is the case, then these things would happen easier. But I want to make sure if we change something now in this window, that whoever becomes the mayor will implement it. Because this is going to take a lot of work on our part. I mean, the law director is going to be giving us stuff because he's got to do the legal research for us as to how can we do these things legally. And then we're going to have some extra meetings to really paw through it and come up with an equitable thing that we can apply citywide. Whatever we do as your representatives, we can't just do it to help the woods. We have to do it for every other resident that encounters the exact same problem that you're having. It has to be equitable. And then we have to figure out for that other half, because this is going to cost a little. If we can get the cost down, we have a number of retired, single, it's widower or widower that are still living in their homes. And their income isn't high. We also have to see what we can do with that grant program to help them. As much as we need young families here, and I'm sure, you like it when young families move into your neighborhood because it shows you the vitality of our community. We also have to protect those of us that are aging in place because you're also the history of the community. And that's just as critical in weaving together what University Heights is. So we're going to do what we can. It's going to take a little bit of time, and I appreciate your patience.
Right. And, I close.
I think what we just came up with was an agreement from Ms. Davis.
Or pause.
And what, should they contact you? Or
Well, we're not getting individual calls from the residents who do have sidewalk violations. I'm asking, are we saying today that we're putting a pause on enforcement?
there you go.
Ms. Weiser.
She's the boss. Mr. Cooney,
I guess the question will be, should the committee and council consider issuing a moratorium on sidewalk assessments and fines until we can get together a plan and new legislation for the assessments?
Brian? Yeah, you can do that. It can be done by two ways. The administration can agree to do it. They have discretion on enforcement. Or council can impose a moratorium itself.
Miss Davis indicated, Councilman Cooney, that she's willing to issue the moratorium. So it wouldn't, I would think, take, unless something arises where you would want us as council to do a formal action.
Well, I'm asking, is that what you guys are requesting today with what we've already inspected?
Yes, we're requesting with what you, out of this discussion, what we're asking, because we have to ask you, and it is an ask. That your department would agree to do a moratorium. And
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it a moratorium. I would just say use its discretion.
use your
to not
discretion to not,
Follow up with
Of course.
enforcement action, outstanding. code violations.
I think we should.
And this is
I
just
think
for
the-
sidewalks, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the
Not-
committee should make, a-
Pardon?
I think the committee should make a formal vote on that.
okay, I'd make, yeah, do you want to make a motion, Mr. Ray?
I'll so move regarding just the sidewalks. You know, not a pause on broken windows or things of that nature, but.
Yeah.
And
so
that's what I was asking, was this discussion for?
Sidewalks only.
For 2026, or are we saying what we've already inspected, we're gonna do something about this?
What the motion would be for 2025 outstanding sidewalk
That
citations
sounds right.
or violations, that there would be a pause on enforcement and
The
until,
motion would be to recommend to council that they take actions.
Hmm.
Committee
So that'll
can
be by
take
ordinance.
formal action.
okay, so we're going to go through council then. Mr. King,
Thank you, Ms. Weiser. Do we want to keep the scope at all sidewalks or sidewalks impacted by city
Trees.
or trees on tree lawns?
I would actually do all sidewalks, and here's why. That's gonna, if we don't, we're gonna end up adding to the work of the housing department. We have to keep this as clean as possible. On the citation sheet, there might be cracks in one and raise also for the same homeowner. And then if we all do it just for the trees, what happens is they're going to have to sift through every citation. And if we're asking the department for a favor, I think that we need to ask it in the cleanest manner.
That makes sense.
Mr. Bryan, if we make a motion as a committee, do we have to refer it to council, or can we just make a motion to ask her to do it, or keep it not as a formal motion?
You can do a motion to ask the department to do it. It's not binding. All it is an ask at that point.
That's all we need. I think Ms. Davis has indicated she's willing to work with the committee. So it would be an ask of the committee to Ms. Davis. If there's an issue you encounter, I would assume you'd let me know. I can call another committee meeting and we could do it more formally through council if need be. How does that sound?
Is why.
Does that sound good?
The other thing that I would just request, and this is obviously up to you, if we can make this a priority in terms of getting an ordinance.
Oh,
Together.
yeah. No, if we do a pause, we can't let it hang forever.
And I did have a conversation with the vice mayor today. The mayor did ask me to prepare a sidewalk ordinance that would get the city involved in some sort of contribution efforts, collective efforts to.
Oh, good, you finally
So,
heard.
That's
I'm already
encouraging.
Working on that, and that'll be something before council, and you guys can make it.
Well, can I just make a suggestion, maybe? Maybe this committee at their next building and housing meeting, which is mid-September, can have some kind of draft at least.
Sure.
That we
Yeah.
can discuss.
Makes sense.
That
What
doesn't
what
have
we'll
to
do
even
is
be,
put it-
you don't have to work on that yet.
We have carried forward that we've done nothing with the second floor rails, but we sort of worked it out with building that they will not, they'll handle it on a case by case basis when they inspect. So for point of sale. So I think we have that sort of informally nailed down, and it's something at some point we're gonna have to resolve. And I think that was the biggest thing from last year, because we knocked out short-term rental and we resolved the ban versus, taking care of them. Yeah, we can do that. We'll prioritize that for the committee beginning. Okay, good. Thank you very much for taking the time. And now, it's all yours. Weiser, Winifred Weiser. Oh dear. Now they know
Hello?
my name, I'm in trouble.
No worries. That was important. My name is David Cohen. I live at 2551 Eaton Road. I'm not a 34-year resident of University Heights. We moved here 3 years ago from Los Angeles, actually. And some of what I have I have some observations and some questions.
Oh, good.
Our citations were very modest. We have cracks in our concrete driveway and we've been asked to fix them. So I'm going to observe that when we get a citation notice and there are no resources attached for here's how you can find out how to get this done. And there's no definition of what a fix constitutes. And the only thing you get is you have to get this done by a certain date and that date isn't that far in the future. It puts the city in a very adversarial position with the homeowner, which I think is not your intention. Maybe it is, but that's sort of how it comes across. So I would suggest that citations include some advice on how to find out how to get your problem fixed. And that maybe they're a link to a website that lets you know, here is what we are going to be looking for that qualifies as a fix. And, I have the Heritage Home Program from Cleveland Restoration Society maintains a list of contractors they have worked with. They don't recommend, but they provide a list. So something that many of us don't know how to fix these problems. So that is my first observation. My second question, how do you decide what gets a citation? Because we've actually done a lot of work on our house, including restoring some of the stonework. And we were surprised that stonework had clearly been neglected for decades. And we get cited for a cracked driveway. The cracked driveway needs to be fixing, but how do you decide what problems with the house get cited?
There is a list that conforms to the Ohio Building Code. And I think there's a couple other codes in our codes, and they actually have a checklist of everything they look at or look for.
Okay.
So there is a coherent thing behind it. The adversarial, I would tell you, Mr. Cohen, is a legacy issue with the department. I've lived here 34 years. I can tell you that sometimes building departments take that stance because they are working with people who refuse to do what is needed.
I get that.
And what happens is, after getting bumped in the head a number of times, the letters become more adversarial, trying to tamp that down. And I agree with you, it can boomerang badly. So I just needed to say that. Those are legacy issues, though, in some part here. So,
I'm gonna
and I
observe-
think Miss Davis will put a comment on that.
When you spoke about what qualifies as a fix, so your contractor or yourself, whoever is going to pull a permit for one of your violations, the building department would then review the permit to see what your course of action is for abating the violation and advise from that point. So not the housing department.
Okay, so for a cracked driveway, we
Yeah,
have
that's
attempted to DIY some of those fixes and we got cited, said it was not adequately fixed, and we can see that some of our DIY fixes didn't take, and we've got a guy, so we're in the process here. But, you know, are we in a position of having to pull a permit to patch cracks in our driveway? That was not clear in the letter either. So,
So usually the letter, your letter, and right above your violations, it explains that any violation that has an asterisk requires a permit.
okay, we didn't have an asterisk. All right. Look, I know that time is short, so I'm going to try to go
Okay.
fast. I'm going to observe that this inspection program functions like an HOA in many respects. There was no disclosure about such a program functioning like an HOA when we bought the house, and we might not have moved into University Heights had we've been aware we didn't want an HOA. Because we didn't want exactly this situation of having an outside entity come in and impose on us an expensive repair that we are not prepared to undertake at the moment. So I'm just going to observe that. I'm going to finish with a question that is personal for me, but I'm going to go through my notes here. So I come from journalism, so I have some expertise in communication, especially with trying to explain complicated issues to people who don't understand them at the outset. And my observation is that you're using terms of art, I've heard them here tonight, that the homeowner may not understand and may not know. They're not defined in the letter. The process isn't defined in the letter, and the homeowner may not know it. So some of it is communication. If you really spell out, here's what this means, here's what you need to do, here's what you can do when you've got it fixed and you need to get it approved, really spell that out and try to frame this as we are all in this together to keep housing values up, rather than you must get this done or you will pay a penalty. That would be helpful. I think it's important to make all this stuff understandable to lay people because they may not know how to fix this. You know, you can get a citation for something you don't know how to fix. I wouldn't know how to, I would know I better call a contractor about a heaving sidewalk, but I could get citations for things that, what do I do about that? I don't even know who to call. And then I'm going to ask one question. Does the city maintain a history of citations for each property? And if so, how can I get the one for my property?
Ms. Davis, do we have a by address history?
Yes.
Yes?
Well, depending on if the property received a violation. Is that
And
what
how
you're
many-
Property is
asking?
90
How many,
some years
no,
old, so I'm-
actually, Mr. Cohen, the question is, how far back does it go?
Now that I can't answer, and the reason I'm saying that is because there was some data migration from the old system that I believe was in place for about 30 years. I cannot specifically say if all of that data, I mean, you lose some
Yeah,
data.
we're required to keep it for 5 years. Whether we've saved it further is a question, whether it went to the right file
Is a question.
is another question.
I've
I've
been
wondered-
able to pull the permit history for my house, and that was most interesting because we were trying to do some repairs and we found out, you know, there was fire damage, you know, in the history of the house. The house has been there for 90 years. So, but if there have been citations before, and we have a history of what's been repaired, that would also be helpful for us.
Yeah, there should be a permit history going back about 20 years that would tell you which permits are pulled generally. I mean, we may not have every page and every detail.
Some will be on computer, Brad,
Right,
not all.
yeah, no.
Not all.
from the
It depends on when,
computer.
it depends on when the city went to computer records, and we were probably behind most cities. I'm gonna be very honest with you. We had a Luddite mayor who was mayor for 34 years.
Stuff happens.
And when I say Beryl Rothschild, they'll go, the city looked better then. And
I looked better then.
yeah, we all did. It, you indicated you moved here from California.
Mhm.
For those of us that are native to the area, this is normal. For the people moving here from New York, New Jersey, California, other states, it's like, what's wrong with you people here? Not, I said that, but not in a negative fashion. It's that how we do things is a little strange. And part of it's the adjustment. That is not to say that suggestions are more than welcome and improve things. And that's what we're all trying to get to. I will take offense at HOA, and here's why. We do not tell you the color of your house.
Well, that's true.
We do not tell you the absolute, you can only have this type of fence and that type of fence. There is a tremendous amount of variation within our housing codes. When people start throwing out, oh, this is like an HOA, what you are in essence saying is that what we are saying is you can only do things within this very narrow window. That is not correct. There is a
Understood.
lot of variation allowed here. Please take that into consideration.
And
I-
the exterior inspection program's been in effect for 35 years.
Yeah,
A lot of the surrounding communities do the same thing, some don't, so. it's
yeah, this
part
isn't.
of
Not
the
asking to
code.
abolish it.
A lot, inspections started for a lot of different reasons. You've moved into an older community. We have had changes in this city, and something's good, something's bad. And like any older area, if you have houses that turn over, are rehabbed, if you can keep getting them rehabbed, then property values stay stable. They can improve. And here's what I would say. Learn to enjoy us. We are an acquired taste in University Heights.
I'm not complaining.
No, I'm serious about this. There is a secret sauce in this city. It is uniquely diversified. It is quietly, how would I say it? People here care about their community in a very quiet manner, but they are very, very committed to trying to keep us to be as good as we can be and to improve, but we're never going to be absolutely perfect because change is a process. It isn't an event. Let me put it there.
I have one more observation that which does pertain to my being from having lived in California for 30 years. I'm not from there. So we've been shocked. This is relevant to the conversation about Mr. and Mrs. Wood, at how long it takes, how difficult it is, and how expensive it is to get professional home repairs of any kind done here. No, wait, and
Yeah.
I completely agree, and if you compare it to Florida, that I have some, you can get a contractor to come out that day for a fourth of the price.
right,
Get the
exactly.
job done and it's done
California,
well.
Los
Here,
Angeles.
all of us struggle with actually getting somebody to show up and give us an estimate.
And I'm going to say that I understand that that is not the responsibility or the purview of this body or the city government. But I would ask you to be a little patient with homeowners because you could get that notice to fix your sidewalk and be on it tomorrow. And that still might take you weeks and weeks to get that done.
There are some residual issues that have caused some contractors to not like to work with the city. We had a change in how we handled our building department in 2020, and we split building and housing. We have an outside company that handles the building section. Housing remained in-house. There were some issues with some of the people who were assigned. The current person who is the chief building officer is very responsive, but we're having to work through issues that were created previous to this. That's about all I would say.
Okay, I am done. Thank you for staying late. I know I've gone over a lot of time for the meeting.
I am very grateful you came. Thank you very much.
One
Thank
quick-
you to the Woods for
Thank you.
coming.
I'm sorry, I have one
Oh,
quick
I'm sorry. Go
question.
ahead.
So for the violations that have been issued outside of an exterior that pertains to the sidewalks being caused by the trees, are we also, does this apply to that as well?
Now, all
Sidewalks only.
whether it's tree or not.
No,
only
I mean-
Sidewalks, not
I'm
trees.
saying under a point of sale, under a rental registration,
Oh, that have sidewalks.
yes.
I don't know about point of sale.
Leave point of sale as is. Leave point of sale as is, because there's other things on point of sale they'll work on first before they get to sidewalks. And we may be resolved by then, and then they can scoop up whatever we're doing. What you might tell them is council is looking at sidewalk programs that may or may not be in place before you do finish your citations.
Okay.
That you could do. That'd be fair to them. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. King?
I was going to say that Mr. Rock, I believe Mr. Rock was going to make a motion before Mr. Cohen came
And
up.
did we need that motion then, or we?
Oh, yeah, we had
I
that
think we
motion.
If
should.
you're gonna make a motion, I would say it was be a motion to request the housing department to forego enforcement action on 2025 sidewalk citations through the end of 2025. Does that make sense?
In relation to the exterior inspection program.
In relation to the exterior inspection program, yes, or
So moved.
Yeah.
a
that's-
specific complaint, I suppose, too. Just to exclude point of sale violations. Those would still be handled in the normal manner.
So moved.
Second,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
And thank you, Ms. Davis, for being willing to work with us. We greatly appreciate it, and I'm sure it'll take some pressure off of your department as well.
Absolutely.
Great. A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming. We need more of you to come. Come talk, tell us what's going on.